Good afternoon, Ontario University football fans. Thanks for joining us on the playoff preview show. My name is Adam Jenkins. Joined with me today is 2015 Yates Cup champion Alec Reid. Alec, thank you so much for joining us today. It's one of the most wonderful times of the year, isn't it? Playoff football begins today. You've been there. What are the emotions like in the players right now who are about to step up onto the field?
Well, there really is no way to describe it. You're excited, you're nervous, you feel like you want to throw up, but there really is nothing like running out onto the field on game day. Excitement levels are high, emotions are high, and you really just can't wait to get to that first play.
The first game we're going to talk about today is your alma mater taking on the Ottawa GGs. Let's take a look at some of the stats between these two teams. Identical records, Alec, but when you look at the points for and points against, that's when you start to see some discrepancies.
Well, it's kind of weird that you see a team who's 5-3, who's averaging less points scored than points against. It's just a sort of an anomaly in football to have this sort of situation. Ottawa's offense really struggling, but they found a way to be 5-3 and host a playoff game.
Let's look a little bit deeper at these two teams. We're going to begin with the Guelph Gryphons, who've had a bit of a bounce-back season. They started 0-2, Alec, but they've really picked it up since.
Well, they really didn't have a choice. When you start 0-2, you kind of got to find a way to win. Really a tough loss against Ottawa. Played well the entire game, and when it got into overtime, they just one bad snap cost them the game and a missed field goal. The Ottawa GGs won that game without scoring an offensive touchdown. And really just a tough loss for the Gryphons to start the year. Now they're trying to battle back.
And one of the reasons they have been able to bounce back is the ground game. Theo Landers and Johnny Augustine have just been a wonderful dual threat combo for the Gryphons.
Well, they really have been, and out of necessity. When James Roberts went down against McMaster, you had to find a way to switch your offense. Started off the year averaging 175 rushing yards per game. After Roberts' injury, they've now averaged 239 rushing yards per game, and the bulk of that is Landers and Augustine, whether it's through quarterback draws, scrambles, or just giving the ball to Augustine and feeding him. They've really just found a way to become the most punishing ground game in the OUA.
Now, for the Ottawa GGs, they've had an emotional season up and down, both on and off the field. And while the Guelph Gryphons have been trending upward since the start of the season, the Ottawa GGs have been sort of trending down. So let's take a look at some of the reasons for that, Alec. It's just been incredible what they've had to gone through. But I ask you, is their luck running out?
Well, you got to figure eventually that it might, because winning the first two games of the season against Queens and against Guelph without scoring an offensive touchdown is really a really hard thing to do in football. Obviously, that kick return by Jackson Bennett at the end of the Queens game with a minute 40 to go, just to win them that game is the X factor for the game and the only reason that they really won. So you got to figure maybe their luck is starting to run out.
Now, the other thing for the Ottawa GGs is that their offense has been struggling, where Guelph's running game has been really helping their offense. Ottawa's still looking for some help on their offense. Yes,
and 10th in total offense and 8th in total points scored per game in the OUA. Only 2 rushing touchdowns for them on the year. And it's a new offense, a freshman quarterback, and really just trying to work out the kinks, but nothing seems to be working. They've tried spreading out the offense, narrowing it down, running the ball, and really just nothing's worked for them. And it's going to be a real tough test against a Guelph Gryphons team that can defend the run and defend the pass very, very well.
And the fact that they're last in red zone touchdown percentage has to raise some eyebrows on whether or not they're really ready to compete in these OUA playoffs. Let's take a look again at the Guelph Gryphons and dive a little bit deeper, Alec, into who you believe their X factor is. And I think there's no secret that it's got to be Jacob Scarfone.
Well, he is the best player on the field whenever he's on the field, whether it's returning punts, returning kicks, or just catching the ball in any sort of fashion. He is an absolute danger when he has the ball in his hands, because he might just take it to the house. We saw the kick return against Laurier off of the missed field goal, but it's not just that. When he's on offense, you can throw him a quick screen and he can get you a first down. He can burn guys deep because he has that breakaway speed, and really no matter which way you're going to get him the ball, he is going to be an asset for the Guelph Gryphons. And fun fact, Adam, he actually came to Guelph as a kicker, and he got drafted to the CFL as a receiver. It's an unbelievable turnaround.
Almost as unbelievable as that backflip that he's able to do there. Now, Alec, while we're looking at an offensive player for the X Factor for the Guelph Gryphons, we're looking at, I guess, a defensive player, but as you can tell, he's a lot more than just a linebacker. He's a return specialist, too.
Well, how often do you ever see a linebacker returning kicks? It's really just an anomaly. Jackson Bennett leads the team in tackles, has 3 interceptions, a forced fumble, fumble recovery, and he's returned 2 touchdowns, one on a pick 6, and the other, you saw the kick return touchdown there. Not to mention he plays every special teams for the Ottawa GGs. He really is an X factor because he's on the field so much and does everything for that defense.
All right, let's get into our predictions now. Just based on the ring you got on your finger, I think I know who you're leaning to, but let us know who it is.
I can't go away from my alma mater. I got to pick the Guelph Gryphons here. I think their offense matches up well against Ottawa's defense, and I don't think Ottawa's defense matches up as well against Guelph's defense. Ottawa's offense, Guelph's defense. There we go.
I'm a sucker for an underdog, but I don't think that Ottawa has what it takes to compete with the Guelph Gryphons. And the fact is, regardless of who moves on to this game, they got a tough opponent in the semifinal. But Alec, as you'll tell me, you got to get there first before you worry about the next team.
You're absolutely right. You don't have a choice. If you don't take care of this game first, you don't get a chance to play one of these great teams, whether it be Western or Laurier, how the playoffs break down. But you got to win this one.
And just a reminder that the Yates Cup will be kicking off at 1 o'clock on Remembrance Day. That's November 11th, with coverage beginning on CHCH at 12:30. Well, that's going to do it for Alec and I. Thank you so much for joining us today on the OUA Playoff Preview. We hope you enjoy the game, and we'll see you next week.